Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, I would like, first of all, to thank the Institute for honoring me with giving me the opportunity to share with you a few thoughts. I am in a more advantaged position than Mrs. Yamandopoulou because I cannot come to the podium without my glasses. I depend extensively on my glasses, and if I forget them, I won't even find my way to the room. I have prepared my slides, but it is after listening to the presentations here and after listening to some discussions on the first floor, it is challenging to say a few words beyond the slides, and it is also challenging to avoid seeing the paper being raised.
Oh, it's only that you have still 5 minutes left.
Okay. There is a discussion about wars. In history, there are many kinds of wars. There are visible wars and invisible wars. Every morning that I go to my work, that I go to the exchange, I see the invisible wall which divides my small hometown, Nicosia. And that pains me. And I'm very happy that today I'm in a city at the time when people are celebrating the abolition of the war. And I do hope that very soon we'll see the abolition of the unfair war in Cyprus, which is not wanted by the Cypriot people on both sides of the war. And we talk of sustainable growth. How can we have sustainable growth if in a small country which is divided by a wall which separates and does not allow the limited resources of the country to be taken advantage of? And coming to the resources. There's no slides? Okay, I'll use my own. Up to now in economics, back in my university days, they were talking of the official allocation of resources to make the optimum benefit. Now, in discussing this optimal allocation of resources, they're discussing other items. They are not discussing only materials. They are discussing the effects on society. They are discussing the effects on environment. They are discussing a lot of issues which have to be taken into account in order for a company to be accepted. Because companies which are not accepted to the societies, usually they don't survive in the medium term. What is the role of exchanges? Usually people think of us, people in exchanges, as very dull people, as people who are interested in seeing the wealthy become wealthiest, seeing the big companies grow bigger. But that's not the case. The role of exchanges is basically transparency. We are there to provide transparent markets. We are there to give to people, to investors, information. And information about things that matter. And information about sustainability. Information about the use of resources. Information about the problems that the company is creating to the society, to the environment. And by reading the statements of the companies, one can draw very interesting conclusions. And at the same time, companies which are listed on exchanges, they have their general assemblies. In the general meetings, not assemblies, meetings, in the general meetings, people go there and they ask questions. And the chairman and the board and the executive are forced to answer to these questions. And usually, some investors nowadays are becoming more educated. And educated investors is more or less what you need. Cyprus is a small country. And many times, people in my country are wondering, do we need an exchange? And this is a very difficult question to answer in a country that's just coming out of an economic crisis, and usually smaller countries, the cities of smaller countries are more suspicious of a number of institutions, and the stock exchange is one of them. but stock exchanges in general play a vital role in economies. They provide the means through which growth and investment will be financed. At the same time, it is something which is not so much stress. The exchanges provide an alternative to banks. If you see what's happening, previous speaker spoke about the collapse, the crisis of the 2008. That was not a crisis of the exchanges. That was a crisis in the banks. And that was a crisis not because the people wanted it. As they said, it was a crisis because the supervisory institutions did not manage to perform up to their standards. And the European Union appointed a Wiseman committee last year, and they said that that was in 2009, reading it, being a Cypriot and being very well educated on things that happen in Greece, I believe that if we have read it in Cyprus and Greece, the crisis would have been avoided. It's a paper, I keep on writing at the press, stressing that in page 13 says this, in page 20 says that, but unfortunately, this report has been read in many countries, but has not read in the countries that had to read it. Spain did not read it. Portugal did not read it. Ireland did not read it. Greece did not read it. We in Cyprus did not read it. But nevertheless, the exchanges have to play a central role in the development and growth of a nation. In the morning, I had the presentation of a lady that said that we need investment. But investors to come in a country, they need an entryway and they need a way to leave the country. The exchanges are the vehicle to achieve this. Cyprus is a country which does not have many resources, but it has the sun, it has its cultural heritage, and tourism and financial services are the backbone of our economy. And it is my favorite slogan, and with your permission, I will repeat it. What we need, because wars are always to be there in human history, we need wall breakers. Like in tennis that I play, if we reach a certain level, we call off tiebreakers. Culture is a wall breaker. Culture is an all-encompassing power that can bring down, and it brings down walls. So if one comes to Cyprus and lands in Larnaca at the airport and drives to the other side of the island, from east to west, it will see mostly all European history. It will see prehistoric settlement, it will see Greek ruins, it will see Roman ruins, it will see Byzantine churches, it will see the Ottoman monuments, it will see the British buildings. So there is a country which has a lot of culture, and we need investment in tourism and in other areas in order to take advantage of this. And the stock exchange can contribute significantly in this direction. But unfortunately, in small countries, we cannot afford big companies. We need small companies. As small companies, the finance of smaller companies is usually expensive. And exchanges, again, responding to the challenges, establish special markets. We have established a special market. The terminology which you use in exchanges is an unregulated market, which puts upon smaller companies less regulatory burden. It makes their relationship with the exchange less expensive and less burdensome. And we have approached companies which are using environment-friendly, which, which are more or less in the area of helping the environment like photovoltaics, etc., to encourage them to list in the exchange. And we have, in a time of financial crisis in my country, we have achieved 15 such listings, not only from Cyprus. We promoted this market for Cypriot SMEs. But to my surprise, we found that 5 Greek companies have listed on our exchange. 1 company from Israel, from Russia. Now we're discussing with companies in Egypt to list on the exchange. I hope we will make it. So exchanges can help companies grow in areas which are essential to society, because big companies play their role, but the backbone of economic growth are SMEs. And our government, after a lot of discussions and deliberations, and after a lot of efforts, has heard our voice finally, ultimately. It has given a number of incentives, which I like to mention, and if anybody finds the opportunity to speak with some companies, I will appreciate if that's a bit of promotion to our stock exchange. Our companies listed on this market, in our exchange, do not pay any capital gains taxes on the sale of shares. So if a company starts at the exchange and shares grow up in value, then, and they sell it, they're not going to pay any gains, the investor. Also, the traders do not pay any sales tax. So I make it free for a company to be on our exchange if they are in areas which are supported by the policies of our exchange. There are a number of other factors which makes a listing on our exchange a very, very attractive one. We have managed to list recently the biggest gaming electronic company, the Wargaming, on our exchange. And we are proud because competing with a number of much bigger exchanges, they found that the financial environment, the service of the exchange, the relationship they have with our staff, and the way you operate, having as minimum bureaucracy as possible, really contributed to this area. In conclusion, before I hear the bell, I would like to state that exchanges can play a very important role in promoting industries and sustainable growth. The point is that everybody has to see the role of exchanges. And it's here that I have a couple of complaints against, as far as our relation is concerned with the European Union. They have issued a number of directives in order to harmonize the trading, in order to harmonize clearing and settlement. But they have done something, they have forgot to do something. They have not harmonized supervision, which is the most important thing. They come to Cyprus, they have one level of supervision. They go to UK, another level of supervision, another standard, another kind of supervision. In Germany, another issue. And we are at the point that some companies talk of regulatory arbitrage. If we are to unite Europe, we should not harmonize the financial sector bit by bit, because there are mistakes. And you see, also in the banking regulatory area, they are forced to talk of a uniform banking regulatory system. They have to do the same as far as capital markets are concerned before it's too late. And sustainable growth. And if Europe wants to pioneer sustainable growth, they have to help companies. We have to have companies in Europe get the necessary financing. And we have to have the companies go close to the people. And the only way to get close to the people is to make the people invest in these companies. And how can they invest in these companies? They invest in these companies through exchanges. And exchanges in return give back to these people transparency. They give information in order to make educated decisions. I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say a few words. I wish my institution and myself find ourselves in a position to help the Institute be as effective as possible. Thank you very much.